Autodidactic song because it's like teaching yourself a lesson. That's of course a more recent song of yours, but you had just mentioned too the societal problems, but also your own mistakes that you made. And of course, there's a million societal issues that we have that we haven't corrected, especially as it pertains to black men who have been treated horrifically historically throughout the history from before the United States was a country till today. But how do you, knowing all that, living all that, experiencing all that, how do you then also, like Ice Cube with the Us song on Death Certificate, there is some personal responsibility here. It's not all society, even though a lot of it contributes and has a huge impact. How were you able to kind of turn the mirror around and say, what have I done wrong? Why did I make these decisions? Why did I do the wrong thing and put myself in a bad position?
I started learning about learned helplessness. And there was this study that they did with these dogs where one part of the floor was designed to shock you, and then there was a barrier. And then on the other side, the floor would not shock you. And they would put the dog in there, and the dog could just jump to the other side if it wanted to. But they would put the shock on, and the dog would either lay down and accept the shock as a normal part of their life, like F it, I just get shocked, or jump the wall and go to the side where they don't shock you no more. And learning about that and Gordon Graham ruts, being stuck in ruts, I just started realizing that there were a lot of things that I was in control of in terms of belief systems, um, how I wanted to conduct myself as a person, regardless of the circumstances that I were in, and the me inside of my body being free to allow that person to have the best life experience that they could have, regardless of where my body physically was located. And so that just took years. It took a decade to understand that I needed to do it, and then it took 3, 4 years of just work and education, reading, learning to start implementing them strategies and being able to apply them. But I think you have to come to a place of understanding, okay, America was designed in a specific way. Policies were put in place to limit the amount of choices you have. So you're in a maze and the exits almost all lead somewhere undesirable. And you can either say, I don't want to live no more, or you can say, okay, I got to figure out how to win this game. I got to figure out how I can navigate this maze and have an exit that is the most tolerable for me and that I could survive and then therefore thrive after I was able to navigate it. And that's what I started doing. So there is the mirror that got to get turned on yourself to say, I might have been given a bunch of ugly choices, but I still chose some of the most ugliest options, right? And then you say, how can I be empathetic to my parents that, they were raised the way they were raised. And because of that, they can only teach you. They don't know what they don't know either. They don't have metacognizance either. And society's been whooping, they got whooped by that same trap too. It's called the trap for a reason. And so empathy empathy has been a big deal for me, for my parents, for my grandparents, for myself as a child, and now for other people, outside of myself and outside of my nuclear family. That's been very important for me to be able to understand what my choices are, my options are. I think the ultimate choice is I would like to be a decent dude. And I'd like to be that decent dude by default, as a default. Like I wake up in the morning and that's me. That's what I'm gonna do. Whatever I'm gonna do is gonna come from that place, and I'm gonna try to do what's right. And if I'm gonna decide to do something stupid, I'm gonna decide it on purpose. And it's not gonna. I'm not gonna roll out the bed and something stupid gonna happen that I did. It's literally gonna be a deliberate decision. And so that was necessary for me to come to that place and get there and own it. And it was good to see, like, while I was incarcerated, frankly, some of my favorite MCs growing up and becoming adults and watching how they were living their lives and what they started communicating as they broke the barriers of our life expectancy, you know? seeing Ice Cube in Are We There Yet? Coming from, Endangered Species being, or Tales from the Dark Side being one of my favorite songs of all time, to he's in Are We There Yet? You know what I mean? Like, damn, the possibilities, Tupac dying and not getting to beat that life expectancy, you know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? But just our understanding what my options were. These are very specific options. Mature, go in this direction of those who have turned this into a lucrative business for themselves. The big homie Ice-T being successful. There's so many people who showed alternative potential outcome choices. And it was necessary for me to see people who were from my industry, from our culture, some of them from my specific, what I represented on the set type level, all of that, to be able to decide, well, there's a different way. It's not just this particular way that it has to be. There's this way as well. And so I just started choosing better outcomes for myself, and they started piling up. People started appreciating it. And my man told me that he said, if you get yourself prepared, to be ready for your blessings before they get here, then you can seize the opportunities. And good fortune is what happens when preparedness meets opportunity. And so I just started being prepared. I expect good things to happen, and I'm prepared to grab onto them when they do. I am a I am a romantic, optimistic, like savagely positive person. I believe that the best potential outcomes are going to occur, and that I'm going to be prepared for them when they do. Even if the ride to get there is going to be bumpy, I believe that the outcome is going to be positive, and that has been significantly reinforced as somebody who had a life sentence. They say, oh, it's already dead 31 years. I did not have 31 years. I had life prison and was never coming home. And but there was a 2% parole rate when I first got there under what was his name, Pete Wilson, and watching that come all the way around to Jerry Brown and Newsom, and it being 30%, potential release rate. And by the time Senate Bill 260 got passed and Senate Bill 261, the youth offender laws in the state of California got passed, I was prepared. I was damn near the poster boy for the law abiding, education, owning property inside of my file. They could clearly see, I've signed this paperwork and the title to my home. Uh, Married at the time. I was just completely prepared, education, everything. And think I only went to board 2.5 times and came home. I know men who've been 10 times and are still there. And so I was just very blessed. And so I be sitting here doing this interview with you uh, is a demonstration of the truth of staying prepared and being ready, and then having a positive opportunity and seizing it, and then doing what you got to do. I've been significantly reinforced with that for sure.
Yeah, and autodidactic, you even say that the outcome is based on your selection. So the the thing that it is I don't discount all the negative things that happen in people's lives or the circumstances they're in and all that. I always try to keep in mind they still have choices to make, and it's what do they do with those opportunities or those shortcomings or those challenges or those problems. And that's the thing that I always find society has failed tens of millions of people of not helping them have better choices, better thoughts, better options. And that's what I think that's what America is allegedly supposed to be, but it just doesn't do that a lot of the time. And it's sad. And it's obviously disproportionately affects non-white people, but it affects the poor white people too. So,
Yeah.
it definitely is, it's a mess. But that being said, one of the things I always admired was that your ability, willingness to be creative while you were incarcerated and even to record. How did you get the idea to record albums while you were incarcerated, and what made you really do it? And how did that idea even happen?
So I was in juvenile hall for the 100th time. So I'm in juvenile hall and I called Lynch. And Lynch is like, man, so psychoactive is out. Lynch is working on 24 deep. And it's like, man, I want you to rap on my answer machine, call back, and then leave a message. And so I called and I spit those bars for 24 deep around the corner at the payphone. I got the 40 in the dank and I got that non-chrome. So it's on, boom, I spit that in there. And that was the first time that I recorded over the phone. And Lynch put that in there. I just had to pace it out. And he spliced it up and laid it and got me on time, got all the timing right. And then boom, 24 Deep comes out. The rest is history. And then I was in the Sacramento County Jail, and me and Mac Dre end up in the tank, and everybody by then is aware of what I had done on 24 Deep. I believe he had called in on a Mac Mall record, and I think he had done live from Fresno County. And so Mac Dre told me about him and Kyrie and how they had done it. And I was like, okay, cool. And I took that to Cedric Singleton and told him what I believe that, this is how we can do it. My engineer at Inharmonic Recording Studios in downtown Sacramento, he I told him everything that Mac Dre had taught me, and he was like, we can step that up. He came to visit me. Man, I love John Botch. He's such a good dude. He came to visit me. We talked about it, and so he went in the studio and took the phones apart. Trump Tight, the producer who I worked with for all of Xorcist, they took the phone apart and soldered the microphone wires onto the receiver, plug that directly into the mix board, and then on the transmitter side, plug that in so they at the headphones. So I've had two phones, one to listen to the music and one to record the song on. And that was how I did Exorcist. So that was a graduation, an improvement upon what Mac Dre told me they had done. And he just was like, man, you can't stop. He's like, don't stop, keep going. Like that was dope what you did. You could do it better. Gave me the game. And salute to Mac Dre, man. That's the homie. Rest in peace.